Hi guys, Tracy here with a scrapbooking process video from the Riptide kit from Scraptastic. I'm going to be scrapbooking these two pictures of my girls, and this layout started with this journaling that's on the screen right now. And I basically was looking through my photos and saw that I had one of each of me with each of my girls and decided to scrapbook about my girls. So usually my layouts start with pattern paper, and this time they're starting with a photo and some journaling. So it's a little bit different for me. So here I am looking through the Riptide kit, which is the Scraptastic kit for October, and I'm just looking for some patterns that I'm looking for a pattern paper that I can type on, because I want to start with this journaling. So I'm going to make myself a strip of this pattern paper. It's an exclusive paper from the kit designed by Caitlin Schaefer, and I just grabbed my typewriter there, and I'm just going to position the paper, and I have my journaling right there beside me, and I'm just going to type out the phrases that I had written. So basically it said, I want to, and then a bunch of things that I'd like to kind of have my relationship be about my daughter. And so the first one was have fun with them. The second one was show them it's okay to take risks. Then there was another one that was supposed to say, show them it's okay to make mistakes. And I happened to make some mistakes on this one. Show them it's okay to make mistakes. So I was trying to put an apostrophe, and I ended up putting a comma by mistake because I forgot that the apostrophe is above the 8 on an old typewriter. And then I forgot to press shift, and so I ended up saying show them it, and then comma comma comma, and then I did another one that said show them it 8, and then finally I got one that said show them it's okay to make mistakes. So I also forgot to put a period on one of those, so I had to do it again because I was putting periods at the end of each of them. So the other ones were learn with them, accept them for who they are, and love life with them. So I have all of those phrases, including the mistaken ones, written out on this paper, and now I'm just going to use my Fiskars trimmer to trim them down into journaling strips. And at first I skipped over those ones with mistakes, but I then decided that I would actually use the ones with mistakes and put them on the layout, I guess kind of just to emphasize the message of that strip, which is that it's okay to make mistakes. So I'm going to put my mistakes right on this layout. So there we go, just slicing them all. And I chose this yellow paper because I wanted to have some yellow in this layout, because yellow is one of my daughter's favorite colors. And I liked how the pattern in the background is subtle enough that the typewriting really shows up on it. So now that I'm finished making my journaling strips, there they are, I'm going to put them aside along with my journaling so that I can remember the order in which I wanted them to go. And now I'm going to take a look at my paper. This is what I usually start with, and I have that balloon paper that's designed by Caitlin Schaefer. I'm putting that aside because I'm going to use it for a separate layout. And here's my favorite paper in the whole kit, that wood grain. It's like a blue and green wood grain. I absolutely love it. So here I picked some of my favorite papers. Sorry about that, guys. And I have a combination of different colors and patterns here. I specifically picked a floral. I specifically picked a bold stripe. And I specifically picked that bold blue paper from the Amy Tangerine Finders Keepers collection. And I'm going to put them together in layers here, and it's not going to be a terribly layered layout. I know I've had a few requests lately to talk more about how I layer, so I will talk about that in this video, but this is not a very layered layout, but I'll still talk about some of the principles because they still apply. So I had to look for a piece of plain cardstock there. I wanted to mat these photos on a piece of cardstock just to give them a little bit of separation between that really bold blue pattern that I'm going to put next and the photos themselves. And I like to do that. So here's a layering concept. And these are just my own ideas. There's no right or wrong way to layer. So if you layer a different way and have different ideas, then leave a comment so we can all learn from each other. But I find that when I put a bold pattern like this Amy Tangerine one, and the pattern isn't all that bold, but the color contrast is really bold. And so I find that when that's right next to photos, even with the white border around the photo, it just kind of overwhelms the photo a little bit. And so putting an extra piece of cardstock between the photo and that Amy Tangerine paper just gives my photo a little bit more space to breathe. So I'm just showing you the strip for this because it is my favorite paper. It's one of my favorite papers of late. Not only in this kit, but it's one of my favorite papers for a long time. I only have the one piece, so I really wanted to use it on this layout because this layout became a very special one right away. And I love how that piece of cardstock that I chose just happens to pick, and I didn't choose it specifically for this reason, but I like how it picks up on the green in the background paper, like the green in the wood veneer. Not the wood veneer, but the wood print. So here I am just using my ruler to make, basically I want to stagger the corners of these papers. I want little bits of them showing on the tops and on the bottoms, and I want them to not line up too much, so I don't want them to be the same widths. And I find using a ruler to tear my paper is a really good way to tear quickly exactly the sizes that I want, as opposed to using a trimmer where you have to kind of make marks and then bring it to your trimmer or fold it or whatever and bring it to your trimmer. So I find that the ruler is a very nice immediate way to do my layers. So I'm just going to lay out these journaling strips so I get a sense of what the scale is and how much room they're going to take on my layout. Now that I have most of my layers in place, I want to know how big of a chunk the journaling is going to take up so that I know what else I have to work with. And I'm just moving them around a little bit. There we go. And I wanted my strips, and right now they're all the same length. I'm going to cut them to be all different lengths. And I love this "you are here," but I'm not going to use it on this layout. I'm going to use it on the next one. And my next layout is going to be specifically made to go right beside this one. So you'll see the video for my next layout as well. I plan to do a process video for it. It's already done. So I'm using the Amy Tangerine letter stickers that came in the kit. And I'm going to spell out my title that says "I want to," and I'm just putting it on wax paper so that I can reposition it. And I'm glad that I put it on wax paper because although I started with the idea of it being up there, I'm going to change my mind and move it down. So again, I'm trying really hard to figure out how to put that "you are here" wood veneer somewhere on this layout, and I'm going to use that washi tape on the journaling strips, and I'm trying to figure out, I definitely want a punch of this glitter tape, and I'm trying to figure out whether it's going to look okay behind the letters. Here's where I decide to move the title. And I like how with the title placed there, it's right beside the journaling. And so it makes it more obvious that the journaling follows from it's a continuation of the title instead of having journaling that's sort of separate. So I wanted to use these stars, and I played around with the idea of scattering them around the layout, but I really don't like this. Even from the beginning, I don't like this idea, but I'm going to follow it a little ways just to make sure that I don't start to like it, because sometimes I don't like something right away, but once I see it come together a little bit more, I like it more. But with that one, I was pretty sure I wasn't going to like it, so I stopped. But I do want to use the stars, so I'm going to keep out 3 small stars and put them at the bottom of my journaling right there. And they're going to be lined up instead of scattered randomly. I wanted to use these clear tags, and I thought I'd use 2 of them, but the yellow one isn't going to work out because once I add the balloons there, the yellow one kind of distracts from the balloons, so I decided to take away the yellow one, but I'm going to leave the blue clear tag in place. And those are from Pink Fresh Studio, maybe? Let me go check. They are from Pretty Little Studio. I get all my studios mixed up here. So speaking of studios, these die cuts here are from Ellie's studio, and I'm putting a couple more stars from the Pretty Little studio down there, just because they were off to the side and I wanted to remember them. So I'm just going to use that banner that says "Love These Moments Together" from Ellie's studio. That's the only thing I'm going to use from that die cut set. Now I'm looking through the exclusive die cut embellishment, or not die cut, but the little exclusive embellishments that come with the Riptide kit, and it has all of these really cute button shapes that are made out of a resin material, and they're really cute, and I want to use them on this layout, but they are a final touch, and before I get to the final touch stage, I need to go back and outline some of these papers and glue the papers down. And I find that I'm getting a little too carried away with this layout because I'm really into it. Like, I really love the story behind this, or the concept behind this layout. So I'm sort of, I went a little bit further than I normally go with it, and so I need to go back and do some outlining and add these little details that I really love to add so much. Now this Ellie's Studio die cut looks beautiful just as it is, but I love to outline these banners. It just gives it a little bit more emphasis and a little bit more distinction from the rest of the layout. I'm also going to outline all of these little stars, and at this point I'm not sure how many I'm going to use, so I'm going to outline all of the ones that are this size. And I especially love outlining die cut pieces that are die cuts that are cut out of a pattern, because I find that no matter what you put this on, part of it is going to disappear into the background based on the pattern. And so outlining it just helps give it that dimension that it needs, because when I put stars on a layout, I want them to look like stars. I don't want them to fade into the background and have to kind of figure out, what is that blob? Oh, it's a star. You just can't see one of the points because it's the same color as the background. So I am outlining these papers, starting with this beautiful Amy Tangerine paper from the Finders Keepers collection. It's called Treasure. And then this one is from the Dear Lizzie documentary collection. It's called #Mondays. And I'm doing a double outline. And then this one is also from the Finders Keepers collection from Amy Tangerine. And this one is from Ellie's Studio. It's called Thankful, from the Thankful collection. I was going to outline it, and you saw me there hesitate. I decided not to. This pattern is bold enough and different enough from the others that I don't feel like it really needs to be outlined, and I don't want to have a real matchy-matchy look like I outlined every single thing. Sometimes I do outline every single thing, but in this case I didn't want to. So I've slowed this way down. This is actually 50% of the real speed. And I just wanted to show you how I'm lining up these papers. They're going, see how they're going on the left side there? They're going in, and then out, so that they're not, I didn't want and now here they're going in, out, out. And I don't want them to be the same on both sides. So I wouldn't want the left and the right both to go in, out, so I wouldn't want that to repeat on the other side, and I also would never want them to go in, or out, just because it doesn't look random enough. I want it to look kind of like I didn't think so much about putting these papers together, even though clearly I did. And when you do that, the bottoms will take care of themselves. As long as they're straight papers, as long as they're cut straight, then the bottoms will also look nice and random. So any second now, we're going to get back to regular speed. I just wanted to slow that down so I'd have enough time to talk about it. And now when I'm adding my matted photo, I'm also making sure that it doesn't follow too much of a pattern on either of the sides. So I want to put it so that it definitely doesn't line up with any of the other corners that are already on my layout. And I'm using Tombow Mono adhesive, the dry adhesive, and I really like that because it's quite forgiving. And I needed to use my letters there on the wax paper just to make sure that I had enough room there. And I like just that little sliver of the yellow striped paper showing. I love a bold I love a bold diagonal stripe in my layers. I think it just adds so much to your layers. Even though you can only see a tiny, tiny bit of the fact that it's striped, just that kind of back and forth, the alternating from the cream to the yellow to the cream to the yellow. Just, I don't know, I just love what it does in the layers. I really like it. And the nice thing about a diagonal layered paper or diagonal striped paper is that you get that alternation on all four sides. So on this particular example, I'm just pulling up the corners of this Ellie Studio die cut, and I used some pop dots to layer it with the different layers of paper. So what I was saying about the diagonal stripe, what I like so much about it as opposed to a horizontal or vertical stripe is that you get that back and forth alternating colors on all four sides of it. So in this case, this paper, you only see two sides, but I love the diagonals for that reason. So I forgot to leave space for this die cut tag, which is a transparency piece from Pretty Little Studios. And I'm just gonna, instead of layering it in front of the Amy Tangerine blue paper, I'm just gonna layer it behind because I didn't want to bother taking apart that. Basically, it's the Ellie Studio die cut that's already stuck to the Amy Tangerine paper that kind of gets in my way there. I just snipped off that glitter tape at a kind of a right angle, so that because when it was cut on a diagonal, I thought it was the only thing cut on a diagonal, so I thought it looked a little out of place. Now I was all ready to add extra glue to these chipboard pieces because I thought chipboard thickers are famous for not sticking, but I thought in particular, when I'm trying to layer them over a piece of glitter tape, I thought for sure they wouldn't stick, but they actually stuck quite well. So it could be that Thickers has changed their adhesive because this is a new set, and historically, chipboard thickers have not stuck nearly this well. So that might be a good thing. So I'm just repositioning my journaling strips again. It's the only kind of annoying thing about using journaling strips is they constantly get out of order. I have absent-mindedly glued them back in the wrong order before, so I try to always be careful to make sure they're in order. And I'm just cutting them at different lengths so that they look a little bit more interesting than just a block of all the same length of journaling strips. And the two that have mistakes, and I'm just cutting my little dimensional adhesive, the edges of it, so that I can use tinier pieces. It comes in a certain size, and I need to use a tinier piece of it on this piece right here. This is the only journaling strip that I need dimensional adhesive on, because it basically hangs off the edge of some layers of paper, and so part of it is higher than the other part. So I just use some dimensional adhesive. Here's where I realize I forgot to glue this whole thing down, and if I'm going to start hanging things off the edge and gluing them down, I need to have this layout positioned and glued down in place. So I just took a moment to do that. And I can't quite remember what I was saying. I was going to say something. Maybe it'll come back to me. So here I'm just using the thin washi tape that came in the kit as a I remember what I was going to say. I'll say it in a minute. As basically an embellishment. It makes it look like these journaling strips are taped down with the washi tape. I think it's a nice, cute little detail. And the reason I wanted it was because it kind of brings in some of that darker yellow. It's almost like a gold. It's a non-metallic, non-glittery gold color. It's the same color that is in that diagonal striped paper I was just talking to you about a few minutes ago. And it also adds a little bit more weight to these journaling strips. It kind of anchors them on the layout and gives them more emphasis and weight. And I really like how it looks. It's interest and weight. So what I was going to say before was that I did leave some space on the journaling strips for the ones that include mistakes so that it's clear that that was going to say more. So that's why there's more space on the right side of those two ones that are mess ups. And I think it's really cool that I actually really messed up on the journaling strip that was about making mistakes. I thought that was kind of cool. I'm purposely not pushing down all the edges of the washi tape so that it's kind of curling up a little bit and it has that interesting dimension to it. Oh, I love how this layout is coming together. It could be that I really love the topic. It's about motherhood and whatnot, but this is one of my favorite layouts of late. Definitely one of my favorites. About me and my girls and all the stuff we do together and the kind of mom I'm trying to be. So I put those stars down so that one of them was upside down, the middle one. If you think of it, I always think of stars as being like 2 legs and a head and 2 arms. Maybe I'm the only one who thinks of it that way. But if you look at the shape of a star, it looks kind of like that. And so I put 2 of them straight that way and one of them upside down so that its legs are up in the air. Thinking about embellishments here, and I really just want to go minimal with the embellishments because the message of this one is important and it already has a lot of layers of paper, like edges that are spread around the layout and they add interest. And I just don't want to compete with the quietness that the paper layers make. Is that a thing? I think of, it is for me anyways, I think about the paper layers as being kind of like a quieter way of embellishing things. It's not quite as in your face as a dimensional embellishment is. And I really like that for this layout. So I'm going to use this heart button because it's really cute and I do want to have some embellishment on this. And so I'm just using my Amy Tangerine piercer there to make the holes in the Ellie Studio die cut. And I'm going to use pink thread because there is a bit of pink elsewhere on the layout. There's a tiny bit of red elsewhere on the layout too. It's in that floral pattern paper from Amy Tangerine. And so I'm just threading my little needle, and this is a step that I consider essential. I do not like buttons that don't have thread through them. To me, if there's buttonholes, then I need to thread them. It just doesn't look right without it. Unless, there's sometimes, unless if I'm putting a whole bunch of buttons together, then I think it looks okay. Sometimes the thread can look distracting if there's a whole lot of buttons, like a huge clump of them, I mean. So now here's me awkwardly trying to tie this down when it's already attached to the layout. That's just a bad idea. It worked out okay, but it's easy to make a mistake here. So I'm sorry that I forgot to zoom out for this part, but I will zoom out very quickly. I think I'm just sticking a little piece of washi tape back there to hold my, even though I did knot it, I just wanted to do that just in case. Put my piercer away, show you a bit of a close-up of how that embellishment looks. And those balloons are on there for a reason. I'm just going to show you a close-up of this layout now. The balloons are on there for a reason. It's because the next layout, which will be next up on my YouTube channel, is going to go right beside it, and it features that piece of pattern paper with the balloon. So here is how the layout looks up close. There are some photos coming up as well, which gives you a bit of a sense of just how it looks up close. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. Have a really great scrappy week and keep an eye out for my next layout, which will be up momentarily.